It is now 9:31. We will call this February 10th, 2022 meeting to order. And first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented. Mover and seconder, please. That is moved by Camerton, seconded by Rowe. All in favor, and that is carried. So a reminder to disclose any pecuniary interest. How come we took out the and general nature thereof? I don't think it matters, but I just noticed that was a difference. Okay, first item we have.
Sir, I have a pecuniary interest.
Oh.
With item number 6.1, item number 4.
6.1. Okay. You have that noted, okay. Our first order of business is recommendation that council proceed into a public meeting pursuant to section 34 of the Planning Act, ROS 1990, at 9:32 a.m. in order to consider a proposed amendment to a zoning bylaw 2015-36. Mover and seconder, please. Rowe and Leatham, all in favor, and that is carried. Good morning, Brian.
So I'm going to read the purpose of the public meeting at this point.
Sure.
The purpose of this public meeting is to review an application for the rezoning of lands located at 177 Victoria Street, Rodney, from institutional zone to residential third density with a site-specific provision. The rezoning will facilitate the conversion of an existing building along with an addition to the building for the development of 18 residential apartment dwelling units and to permit the reduction in a side yard width. Council will not make a decision on the application at this public meeting. Based on the recommendation and information received at this public meeting, an amending bylaw will be presented to council in the bylaw portion of the regular meeting of council. The planner is keeping a public registry. If any member of the public wishes to be notified in writing of the decision on this application, they can provide their name and mailing address via email to planning@westelgin.net or by calling 519-785-0560, extension 226 by 4 p.m. on the day of the public meeting. A person or public body may appeal a decision if they have made an oral or written submission at today's meeting. If you wish to make an oral submission during this public meeting, please use the raise your hand function in Zoom and the clerk will allow you to speak when the call is put out for public comments.
Okay. So we have the public meeting opened. A couple of housekeepings. Good morning, Brian, and good morning to us. Okay, we'll turn it over to you, Brian. Lead us through
Excellent.
this.
Good morning there, Mayor and members of council and members of the public and applicant and owner that's present for this public meeting. Before you today is an application for zoning bylaw amendment to change the land use of the former Legion from an institutional zone into a residential third density type zone with a special provision too on the lands that would allow for the conversion of the building into an apartment dwelling units, as well as facilitate an easterly expansion to the building with a reduced side yard setback from the 7.5 meters that the bylaw requires down to 6.5 meters. So it's a 1 meter reduction from the minimum requirements. So as a result, before you is Planning Staff Report 2021-03, and of course that's publicized in our council docket and available on our website. So as part of the circulation requirements, we did circulate agencies, department staff as well for comments, and that's highlighted in the planning report as well. We did receive comments from Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority on the matter, principally noting no issues of concern. They'll be reviewing stormwater management facilities implementation on the site, and that has been circulated to them on the site plan application. So from this perspective, I've analyzed the planning documents. I'll get into our official plan. Obviously, the lands today are designated residential. So from a land use policy perspective, we could support an amending bylaw to change the land use from institutional into residential use that aligns with the official plan policies. This obviously allows for the adaptive reuse of the former Legion building and facilitates an expansion to the building, and will promote intensification of the property, of course, with some residential units. It's a medium density type development with the apartment dwelling units being considered on it. By the sheer size of it and the amount of units, we're looking around 55 plus units per hectare based on the calculations, with 18 units being considered on the property. So from a zoning perspective, again, very quickly, done a review on the concept site plan. A majority of it does comply. There's a little bit of detail that they need to think about on the fenced garbage enclosure that they'll refine through the site plan review process. But principally, all other components of the zoning bylaw seem to be met, with the reduction of side yard setback to facilitate the easterly addition of the building. So with that, I did circulate it to within 400 feet of the property as well, to all the members of the public that owns properties within that area. We got a couple on the phone call tonight for this public meeting as well. Other than that, I put before council an opinion that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the provincial policy statements and conforms to the county official plan as well as the municipal official plan, and recommends that the zoning bylaw amendment be approved, subject to no concerns being heard through this public meeting, and oral and written comments that we've received to date. And I do confirm we haven't received any written comments to date, just people wanting to participate in the public meeting today. So with that, of course, if once council makes a decision, notices of that decision need to be sent out, and there's a 20-day appeal period on that decision that council makes. So with that, I'd like to go probably into the next step of the public meeting process, Mayor. I do note that the agent and applicant is Ted Halla, and the owner, Dean Falcons, is available on the call here, and they can detail their proposal for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. We will now listen to the applicant's presentation. I'm not sure who is taking the lead, whether it's Dean, whether it's...
So Ted, I have promoted you to panelist if you'd like to speak, or you can turn your camera on or off. It's your choice. And I'll allow Mr. Falcons to speak as well. They just need to unmute themselves.
Yeah, and the mute button's in the bottom left corner, so it should work.
Okay. Good morning, Ted. You're still muted.
Mr. Hawley, you're muted.
Of technology.
Just give him a minute here.
Yeah.
I'll give him a call if you can't get it.
He's unmuted now.
Start over?
There you go, sir.
There you
Okay,
go.
thank you, and sorry for the technical glitches there. I think Brian has done a commendable job in terms of his report and also describing what is being proposed before you that precipitates the need for rezoning. You may, some of you were in attendance at a neighborhood meeting we held back in October, and the project was very well received. I don't think that's an overstatement. The project is going to provide its evidently much needed rental accommodation in the village and in the municipality. So we're pleased to be responding to that need and the Falcons are very enthusiastic about this project, and as you know, they're incorporating the existing Legion into the project, which certainly retains that that long heritage of the Legion at that location. I just wanted to speak briefly to the reduction in side yard, which we are also requesting. It results from moving the addition a meter farther north. In the initial conceptual work on the project, it was in line with the north wall of the Legion. The extra meter gives us a little more wiggle room in the parking area, which, given the likelihood that the project will attract an older demographic, will probably be appreciated. And also gives us a little more ability to buffer the parking lot along Victoria. Dean has spoken with the owner and conveyed to me that the owner had no issues with the reduction, modest as it is. I don't think anything else I really want to add. Say we're pleased with the report and with the recommendation that is before you. We have submitted our application for site plan approval, which would be the next step in the process, municipally speaking.
Okay, thank you, Ted. I guess has council got anything, any specific questions for Ted?
Well, just to build on what Ted said, maybe I'll bring up the concept plan since we have our great digital platform here. I'll get the clerk to bring up that concept. And then we can visualize the site a little bit better and make it a little bit more context to what Ted and I have textually described for members of the public here in the council. Council's had benefit of the package as well as publicized on the internet here, so on the website. So this is the conceptual site plan that they've submitted with their zoning bylaw amendment. So if everyone can see my mouse, obviously on the left-hand side of the screen here, or thank you, Jana, there's the existing Legion building. And then the proposed addition is to be to the east. And that there's a little step in the building face there on the north side, to the north yard there, yeah, where the mouse is. And that's the reduction of setback to this side yard over here. So again, they're proposing 12 units within the existing building to be converted and an additional 6 within the addition to be added to the property.
You mentioned, Brian, if I might, the garbage enclosure, you might want to point that out.
Yeah, so the garbage enclosure is over here on Jane Street, right north of the parking area. That's where they proposed it. So they'll need to do some refinement with the site location of that. And we'll have to get into some site plan details through the site plan review process that they're currently in to refine this site plan. Obviously, this is just conceptual in nature that we're getting into the detailed design pieces through the site plan process.
I think
so I will mention
there, but not quite.
Yeah, so I'll mention that we currently are in the site plan review process. It's been circulated to agencies as well as department staff for comment, and we're working towards heading towards planning approvals on that project over time. As it progresses through the site plan review stage, it will require a site plan agreement with the landowner to be executed, and then building permits will become available as a result of planning approvals being obtained to do the renovations and expansion of the site. So hopefully that clarifies the next steps should they receive zoning bylaw amendment approval today.
All right. Well, I guess that's fairly comprehensive, all of the overall plan and the way it will proceed. If that's all from the planners, do we have any public that would like to make a comment regarding this?
So if anybody from the public wishes to speak, this is the time where you can use the raise your hand function, and we'll make 3 calls for that before we move on. I do have, when I allow you to talk, please state your name and then you can start speaking. Okay, you'll just need to unmute yourself. Okay, you can go ahead if I've allowed you to speak.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Tariq Babri, and I have a land at the Sandford Drive. My question is, when is the expected date of start of this project, and what is the expected completion date?
Sure. So I'll start out that question for you, Tariq, and then hand it over to their development team to comment on their anticipated timelines. So from the municipality's perspective, they would need to obtain the zoning bylaw amendment that we're talking about today. It needs to be in full force and effect, as well as obtain site plan review approval and execute a site plan agreement before they can actually commence construction with the issuance of the building permit. Now that's proponent driven, obviously, and how quickly they can go through that process. Again, I mentioned that the appeal period on this zoning bylaw amendment is 20 days. So it's definitely beyond that. And site plan review will take them, in theory, a little bit of time to go through over the next few months type thing to get through approvals, I would think. So with that, I can toss it over to Ted and Dean to add additional comments on their end and where they're looking at moving this forward and how quickly and when they're starting construction and anticipate how long it would take.
I think I would defer that to Dean.
Good morning, everyone. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Quickly, I'd like to thank Brian. I didn't speak earlier, but I'd like to thank Brian for helping me through the process. He's been exceptional to work with. I'm kind of new to this process. He's been great helping both Ted and myself navigate and complete satisfactorily the process and what's required. The work itself, we're not afraid of. We're prepared to go. A definitive answer, obviously, as Brian mentioned, excuse me, my goal would be hopefully we're permitted for July potentially. I think we did a pretty good job with the site plan application. It seems to have received, it's only been in for a short time, received quite well. We're prepared to fix anything required quickly. But that being said, everyone here I think can agree materials are getting harder to source and find. Labor is getting harder to source and find. COVID's created quite the obstacles for everyone trying to complete. That being said, I would hope if we could start in July, potentially be prepared to open with the addition completed for spring of next year. That's our goal.
Okay, to our resident calling, does that satisfy your question, sir?
Yes, sir, it is. But I just have a quick last question.
Yes, go ahead.
What is anticipated the effect on land values around this development?
Through you, Mayor, to Tariq there and his question on land valuation. Planning decisions doesn't have any effect on land valuation in and around the area. There might be other influences that cause it, but not any direct causes as a result of council's decision making on that. So as we know, today's quite an interesting market out there with land valuation in itself. So I'll leave it at that. And Ted and Dean may want to add additional comments on that.
Not being a land appraiser, I would hesitate to do so. I would think this project, once completed, it will be an asset to the area. It's scaled appropriately to fit into the neighborhood. My speculation would be that if anything, it would add value to real estate in the area. It's not a normal part of the planning process, as Brian has inferred to consider that impact, but it's often asked.
Any additional questions or comments, sir?
Thank you very much, sir. So nice of you.
Madam Clerk, do we have anyone else?
I'll make another call. Does anyone else wish to raise their hand and make a comment or ask a question? So I'm going to make a third and final call. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to ask a question or make a comment on this application? At this point, sir, we do not. We can move on.
Just to refresh my memory, we have no additional written comments or concerns.
Nope, none
Okay.
received. Brian, unless you received anything at the last minute?
Let me just do a quality check in case something has come in today. But the deadline requirement I had was noon yesterday to give some time to get things rolling for today. So I don't see anything. I just took another quick look to double check the inbox. So no additional written comments. We do have an additional member of public that requested to join, but has suggested or under Jana's request hasn't suggested to speak here at this public meeting.
Okay, council, any questions or concerns on this planned development in our community?
No.
I'm seeing nothing from council. I guess at that point in time, what's our next step here, Madam Clerk?
The recommendation, would you like me to read it, sir?
I would, that's where I'm going with it.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Brian Pierce, planner, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application D14-0321 for 177 Victoria Street. Recommendation report. And that West Elgin Council approved the rezoning of 177 Victoria Street from institutional to residential third density site-specific provision 2 R3-2 zone, with site-specific provision 2 reducing the side yard width from 7.5 meters to 6.5 meters in accordance with the draft bylaw contained within the report. And further, that West Elgin Council consider this bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw as presented in the bylaw portion of the February 10th, 2022 council agenda.
Okay. So the recommendation again to close the public meeting. I guess we're all.
Oh, I need you guys to move and second that.
Oh, the first one. All right. Moved by Cameron and seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried.
Okay.
So I'd just like to jump in there, and as a result of council's recommendation, I do note for everybody on the call that people that's been involved in the process will be circulated council's decision on the matter. So look forward to that in your email. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay. So I guess all business in the this public meeting has been completed. Have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby close the public meeting held pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 at 9:54 a.m. to reconvene in a regular meeting of council. Mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier. All in favor, and that is carried. Thank you very much. Ted, Dean, and Brian.
We're adopting the minutes first.
Okay, next item up is the adoption of the minutes. I have a recommendation that the minutes of council meeting held on January 27th, 2022, and the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on February 3rd, 2022 be adopted as circulated and printed. Mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe and seconded by Tellier. All in favor? And that is also carried. Any business arising from those minutes?
Councillor Cameron's leaving, sir.
Okay.
There is a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby approve the following council grant requests for 2022. One, Triconal Heritage Society, $1,000 for the 225th anniversary of the Fleming settlement. The West Lauren Horticultural Society, $1,000 for bedding plants in West Lauren and waiver of fees for the arena. West Lorne Legion, $3,000 towards renovations of washrooms, the West Lorne Optimist, $2,000 for the Mother's Day Road Race, and West Elgin Community Health Center, waiver of fees for children's fitness program.
Okay, you've heard the recommendations. Do I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Tellier, seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried.
Okay.
Okay, back in here.
We're on Lisa. Staff
Yeah,
reports.
I'm just trying to.
Okay.
Okay, so we do have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Lee Gosling, Manager of Operations and Community Services for information purposes. Mover and seconder. Rowe and Leatham, all in favor? And carried. Morning, Lee.
Lee, you're muted.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Floor is yours, sir.
Well, I think it was a pretty straightforward report for January. Things were quiet. Winter finally came to West Elgin, so that occupied most of Public Works time. And certainly the big story in recreation was the fact that our arena was shut down for 3 weeks, which was unfortunate, but we're back up and going, and things have been going well since we reopened on the 31st. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that we can get the balance of the season in. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Lee? I think the boys did a pretty good job handling the bit of snow that would come down. I know they were right on it, and certainly, hopefully, that's maybe the last time that we have to deal with it. But I doubt it. So good job that way. I guess one of the things that I did ask Lee at the rec meeting yesterday, maybe you could give council a little update on the Scout Hall.
Yep. So renovation work that was ongoing at the Scout Hall has been completed now. And you know, certainly as soon as we're able to offer that space up for meetings, you know, we would like to do so. So there is the painting's been completed, upgrades to the washroom and kitchen area, new flooring. So yeah, it's I think that the between the contractors and staff that helped out, I think they've done an excellent job, and I think that the groups that will be using that space will be pleasantly surprised.
Okay. Any other questions for Lee? You got a full complement of staff. Nobody's off sick.
We do, Mr. Mayor. We do have a full complement. Knock on wood. So far, so good.
Okay, without any further questions, Lee, thank you very much, and have a great day.
You as well.
Okay, next item up is the pre-election accessibility report. Recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Jan Nethercott, clerk. 2022 municipal and school board elections pre-election accessibility report for information purposes. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has any questions. This is required under the Municipal Elections Act that we have a accessibility plan, and I just wanted to make sure council saw it. If they had any questions, it will be going on our website. There'll be a lot of these types of reports coming to you guys this year, unfortunately, probably about every other council. So.
Okay, we have a mover and seconder for the report. Moved by Rowe and seconded by Cameron. All in favor? That is carried.
So in my next report, I just want to give you a background before we get to the recommendation. It's the Lower Thames Conservation Authority. They often they seem to run in a different cycle than we do. So it's a maximum 3-year posting. So now it's time to either reappoint or newly appoint or
okay,
what you wish to do.
Well, yes, Bonnie.
Yes, I'd like to reappoint Richard if he'd sit for it for another year.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
You're accepting?
I would accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to accept that. Yesterday, I was at a meeting, executive meeting in Chatham, and it went from 10 till 3:30, and there was two hearings. One we issued a permit for, and the other one, it's pending on. We've had to get a lawyer in because we don't want implications coming back and biting us. So we're having solicitors in to find, to see if that we're not putting ourselves in some sort of danger. So we only halfway went through that one. So I didn't want to, if somebody else wanted it really, really badly, I've still got one to finish, you know what I mean? But I would really like to finish it right up until the end of council.
Okay, well,
Let's
let's see what happens here.
So Bonnie is moving that West Elgin Council receives a report from Janet Nethercott, clerk, reappointment to Lower Thames Valley Conservation Board, and that West Elgin Council hereby appoints Deputy Mayor Richard Latham to a one-year term or until the annual general meeting of the Lower Thames Conservation Authority to the Lower Thames Conservation Authority Board of Directors.
Okay, Bonnie's willing to move that. Do I have a second for it? Seconded by Cameron. All in favor? Carried. Okay. You're still going to Chatham. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I guess on behalf of Council, Richard, thank you for the good work you do on our behalf there. Thanks.
So we're next with the admin.
Yeah, let's go to the finance and administration. First up is a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from Magna CAO and from Janet Clerk, Treasurer Clerk, Administration Monthly Report for January 22nd for information purposes. Mover and seconder by Cameron, seconded by Latham. All in favor? And that is carried.
Any questions?
Any questions on the report? Bye.
Yeah, I just, in looking at the service requests report, it's kind of confusing to me. There's requests that look similar. And so I just like, for example, what's the difference between a municipal drain concern and a municipal drain inquiry? And there's other ones like that.
So the drain concern is, it's just the way we classify it. A municipal drain inquiry can be from a farmer to discover, is their drain, do they have a municipal drain? Are they on a municipal drain? Are they, has there been work done recently? Or somebody who's been billed for drainage work. A concern is where we need to send someone out and actually start possibly doing some work on a drain, like a clean out, things like that. It's just the way they classify them in citywide. So I'm not sure the other one. I guess maintenance in general for streetlights. A general streetlight could be it's flickering, or can we get a streetlight in this area? Maintenance is, I guess, kind of the flickering. It just depends on what you pick. Maintenance is generally the streetlight is out and we need it to put on the list for the next time Gerbers are around to replace light bulbs, kind of thing.
Okay, any more questions on that? Seeing none, do you want to move on to draft water billing policy and procedure? And we'll discuss that before we have a mover and second on the recommendation.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the reason why we brought the policy change is just, there was always a concern from our municipal staff for the residents. So there is always an issue with the AR billing. And lately, actually, at the beginning of COVID, council made the decision of not disconnecting our residents. That being said, the AR accounts receivable balance at the end of January was around $91,000 compared to average of roughly $51,000 a month. We have, at this point, we have approximately 25 residents that should be disconnected because their balances are in the range of $1,000. At this point, we are going through the process of sending out the bill, sending out the statement, sending out the notice to them, and then sending out the final notice. That very last step, disconnecting customers, is not happening because of council's decision and because of COVID. At this point, since we can't really disconnect somebody from water, especially during COVID, during winter, there's never ever an ideal time to disconnect somebody from their utilities. There's only one option of transferring their arrears into taxes. This is not something that we're planning on implementing immediately, as this change will require appropriate communication with the residents, tenants, so they are well informed. And at this point, I realize there is, in our municipality, we have 79 tenants. This will basically cause a grief to the property owners if we start the process immediately. Therefore, our recommendation is to, if council is okay with it, and I'm not required of council to make the decision today, but if council makes the decision of transferring their arrears into property taxes, we would like to take that change. We would like to start doing it as of June 1st to the property owners, and then tenants start the change, only leave the way it is for the tenants. But if there is a change of tenant, then implement that change as it goes. And at this point, I don't know what to do with balances in arrears. They're quite high. It looks like it's going to stay that way. If someone cannot pay $200 bill, like those 25 people have not been paying their water bills in 6 months. So I just, at this point, if based on our current policies, there's not much I can do.
Angela.
So through the chair, this past week, I think I've talked to Magda a couple times because I know some notices went out for disconnects. And when I started investigating, unfortunately, I was a little disappointed to discover that some of these accounts were 6 months with no payment. As much as I'd love to help my residents as much as I can, when you go 6 months and not even attempt to make 25, 30, 40, anything, you know, hydro, your cell phone would have been cut off a long time ago. This is a business and we need to treat it as such. And I'm encouraging anyone that calls and does whatever to try and arrange payments with our staff. We've been saying that for, I think I've been saying it for what, 2 years, to reach out, you know, we'll work with you. We'll do the best we can. So, you know, if a tenant is making water payments and then they just pack up and leave, what mechanism do we have to collect that money later? We don't, because they could move to where, right? And then we're stuck having to put that on the rest of the taxpayers. So as much as I hate to agree with this, I think it is something that is necessary based on what I have been experiencing in the last couple of weeks with Magda and people in my ward. So I would support this.
Tress, you had your hand up.
Good morning, everyone, and through the chair. So thank you very much, Magda, for this policy and procedure report for the water billing. I think it is also very much needed. I know that gas and hydro are not cutting people off right now, not just because it's winter, but even in the summer months we just had. They've made, what they do is they take the chunk that they're not paying, and then they divide it out over so many months. So that's another way to look at it as well. But, and then they're still supposed to make their regular payments. But if they're 6 months behind and haven't made regular payments, I don't know if that's something that if someone's situation has changed drastically that they could do or not. So thank you for this. I just wanted to give that information that that's what the other utilities are doing in the area.
Richard.
Yeah, I agree with it also, Magna. And I do think that people, unfortunately, that are really hard up should make one little effort, even if it's $25 every now and then when they can afford it. They're making an effort. But when there's nothing coming in at all, I'm afraid they're not making an effort at all. So.
Are we getting any communication from these people or not at all? Nothing?
No.
Nothing. I mean, even a promise is something, but when there's nothing coming in, yes, I don't think that we have any other options to do this because you know, not only does it affect the people that are not paying, and I think we've been very, very conscious of sympathetic over the COVID of a lot of people's plights, but there still is the end cost of our system, and it has to be passed on to the other people that are paying. So that's not fair to them either. Bonnie?
I could just have clarification with regard to the process in this. I understood that the new policy, if it was enacted from June this year forward, it wouldn't include previous accounts? Or?
So right now, the issue is with the tenants. And so the property owners renting, and actually, speaking of tenants, just like I mentioned to council, we have 79 tenants, but tenants are not the issue in our municipality that are not paying tax bills because there's only one that is in arrears. It's the actual property owners that, so, but we are willing to work with the property owners and basically enforce the new policy with the new change of their tenant. So if somebody, if the policy comes in place on June 1st and the property owners already have tenants living there, it's not going to affect them. We will not transfer that balance in arrears onto the property owner.
They'll continue. The tenant agreements will stand. We have a written agreement with all the tenants, so there's no way we can get out of it. So we won't make the landlord be responsible for the water bill. It's just not, we're going to try not to transfer them to taxes is basically Magda's idea because the tenants aren't the problem. But in future, if a tenant moves out after June 1st, the water bill will be transferred to the landlord's name or to the property owner's name, and it won't be transferred back to a tenant. We won't have any more tenant agreements.
Okay, so just as a follow-up then, if, you know, the property owners are delinquent in their bills. Those are the people that haven't paid. What is the plan for those people come this new policy? How will we deal with them? Will they be cut off? Is that the plan?
No, so the plan is that basically after 60 days, if the balance is unpaid, it will automatically be transferred to their property tax.
Okay. All of the arrears.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I agree with this bill. This policy, I do think that other places are doing a similar process where you know, add arrears to taxes and you know.
And I just want council to know that there's that policy, this was just basically we touched on main issues that we have in the municipality. We are planning on comparing this policy with other municipalities that have the same policy in place. And also I would like to revise the tenant deposit. That deposit has been in place since 2002, which is $200, but these days $200 does not cover water sewage bill of 2 months. So I would like to increase that to the minimum of $300. But still, we're going to require deposit, I think. That's the smart thing to do. Yes.
For all new first-time residents?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter whether they're a tenant
for the tenants, just for the tenants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if they're
just to protect the property owners and help them out.
If they're a property owner, then they won't be required for that.
No.
And that's a common thing if you're a tenant?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm hearing consensus that everybody's satisfied with this policy, and I guess the direction that you would like to have, Magda, that we do agree with this concept and wish you to continue on and finalize a policy.
I have a resolution if you'd like, sir.
You would read that, please.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Magda Badura, CAO Treasurer, redraft water billing policy and procedure for council comments, and that West Elgin Council hereby directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to adopt this policy at a future council meeting.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Cameron, seconded by Leatham. All in favor, and that is carried. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll move on to committee board reports, council reports from committees. Anybody have anything to address?
Thank you. Through the chair, I have just some outlines for 3 of my committees. So the first one is the youth task team. So that's the one that I sit on for the youth at the West Elgin Community Health Center and a grant that they have there. So since we're still doing our meetings via Zoom, we don't have a lot that we can plan for, like most of the committees, to do things in person because we don't know what the future is bringing. So what we came up with was maybe doing some small workshops. So if the numbers were small, we could probably still run them if the things change with the government. So I had suggested, the youth had suggested when we asked them to do some employment and some babysitting and different things like that. So we're looking into that because travel is a barrier for them to get to some of the programs within other parts of Elgin. And I had suggested first aid or mental health first aid because they're looking at building on their resumes as youth. So the first aid and CPR is being offered on the March break. I believe it's March 15th and 16th, and they have 8 spots to keep it small, and some monetary help will be given to help people pay for that because, as you know, first aid and CPR is quite expensive to attend. So that's what they're doing there and hoping to do some more things in the future. They're doing some polling of students at the local high school at West to see about some safe spaces, to have some safe spaces for them. So they're doing that still. The other one is Heritage Homes. We haven't met. We usually only meet in person for that one, but due to the provincial regulations, we haven't. So we're hoping to meet coming up here. But in the meantime, thank you, Mayor McPhail, for putting a word in. So Karen Vecchio's office has reached out and would like to have a meeting on February 22nd about what she can look at for the Heritage Homes building that is shovel ready, as I've said in the past, to have look at having some additional residences in the back there to add on to the building. So that's an update from that. And lastly, the Housing Coalition, they're currently working with 13 clients in the western part of Elgin. That doesn't just mean West Elgin, that they just encompass it as Eastern Elgin, Western Elgin. So western part of Elgin, as the, it's been public now, is that they're looking at doing shelter at the St. Mary's Hall. Volunteers have been placed for a long time because originally they were going to use the hall on Morden, which was the Anglican church. That didn't go through. And then they proposed to us to do a trailer, and that didn't go through. So all those volunteers have been in the wings waiting to see what's going on. All the original ones that signed up are still eager to come and volunteer when they can. Southwest Public Health was at the St. Mary's Hall yesterday, and we're happy and gave their little stamp of approval. Fire and building inspectors go today at 1 o'clock. So we haven't had a meeting for this for quite some time, maybe 2 weeks, maybe even 3. So the last time I was at one of their meetings, they were doing education, going to the school first, going to the principal, then going to the priest, then to the diocese, and they were all on board and very supportive of everything going on there. So those are the 3 reports I have. My fair board hasn't been meeting at all. And so that's what I have to report.
So through the chair, I realized that they went to the school. When is the homelessness committee going to address the parents of the school and the community members of West Elgin?
I'm not aware of any date that they're going to do that at. It has been signed by the West Elgin Community Health Center, a contract with the diocese to open it. So that's where they've done that. And they went around in the community and spoke with the neighbors around the hall ahead of time before signing it. Spoke with the school.
They spoke with the principal, but however, nothing was sent home to the parents of the school. So I'm just wondering about maybe a communication letters as for hours of service, different things to, inform parents on what's being done, different things like that. I realize that there's some type of letter that's at the local coffee shop, but I know parents are contacting me as the ward representative, but I don't have those kind of answers because this isn't a municipal project. So I would really like some better communication to go to the members of that school or within the community, because me as a municipal councillor is getting those questions, and this isn't a municipal project.
So before you
I'm not done, Councillor Tellier. I'd like to finish.
Well, you just cut me off when I was talking, so I thought you were done.
Councillor Tellier, I'd like to finish.
Whoa, stop here.
So I am directing them back to the health center and to the diocese because there was nothing made public. Because I don't know what else to do. It's not a municipal project.
So I have a child at a school in a different town, and there's a project going on there, and I would never expect there to be the letter home in regards to a project that has nothing to do with the school and nothing to do with the municipality. That wouldn't, the two don't mix. So I'm not quite sure why exactly that should be happening.
These are questions that I am getting from the parents from the school and residents of my ward.
And I think
and as our councillor representative on that committee, I would like answers.
I would think that the appropriate channel for that is to direct the questions to the community health center or to the diocese. They're the ones that are taking the lead on this. Have you contacted the community health center? Did they give you?
I have not got any response. And since Councillor Tellier is our representative, I thought maybe perhaps she would have that information.
Well, I think what has been happened here, there's been a concern brought forward from one of our council members to the member of the committee that in turn, I assume would be able to relay that concern to those on the committee.
Yes, I can relay the concern. I'm not sure exactly where that will go, but I can relay the concern.
It does. I don't know, and I can't determine where it will go or where it will not go. But at least the issue has been brought to your attention, and you can bring that on to the people on the committee, and they can do with it as they wish. I mean, we can't force them into something because it's really not. It's out of our jurisdiction. Funny.
It is.
Personally, I would have thought the principal would be the one to approach. If he's been in touch with the diocese, then he should be distributing information. So I would direct my constituents back to the principal. He's the one that should be distributing some information. And if he doesn't have it, it's up to him to get it. So that would be my personal take on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect the committee to be the one to distribute it. I would expect the church with the church hall or any such things to be distributing it. It's kind of surprised, but
you said that the health center is the one that rented the hall. So why would the church have to distribute information when they have rented the facility?
through the chair, because it is on their property. So it would be through them. So the health center and the church is where questions should be direct.
Which is what I have been doing.
Did you get and have you contacted for your own satisfaction, contacted the principal?
Principal is not in the school at this time. He's on a leave.
Okay, well, there's got to be someone that is in a position to answer those questions. If it's not the principal, then he has his master's at the school board. So you know, as far as council goes here, other than trying to get answers for your residents, and we don't have those answers. Nope. So either we have to direct them to where they can get the answers, and I think it's either the principal who is not there, well, it's the school board and the health center and possibly the diocese. So, Bonnie.
So just in terms of this municipality and following any rules, do we need to take any steps apart from, I guess, the fire chief being on site today and the chief building officer? Is that all we need to do at this point? Is it bases are covered? And
see, the temporary shelter is in the reopening Ontario provincial legislation. And my understanding, Magna, correct me if it's wrong, that there is needs to be a recommendation from either the municipality or the health unit or something like that, that this is necessary. And our responsibility is to ensure, as always, in any usage in our community, that the fire inspector is satisfied and the building inspector is satisfied. And after that, we're just bystanders. Okay, enough on that right now. I do have a question to Russ or Richard. How long has the hub been ready for? How long have they had their plans ready to go? Yes, Russ.
Through the chair since 2019.
2019. Just as a suggestion to follow up on, you know, having Karen Vecchio involvement in this, and Karen was very interested in, and certainly I know that she will do whatever she can on her end of it. But I did receive a letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs that they seem to be wanting solutions from the public or from the municipalities. And what do you guys remember? What component did we play in giving them some land to be able to accommodate this?
We did a land, we rezoned the land. We did a bit of a land. We gave them a piece of land. We gave them a big piece of land. We've done basically, we have a whole file. Heather did some planning and helped them with all of the stuff that needed to be done. Well, there's Brian. I don't know that Brian would know much about it. Lee, you might have more information too. We gave them what we did with the land.
a bit of property, I think, along the railroad track that the municipality owns.
Yeah, and a road allowance. We closed up a piece of road to allow them an entrance, right, Lee?
Yes.
So we have a fair bit of involvement in trying to support this initiative. And so on the heels of that letter that was sent out by Minister Clark, I'm wondering that if we could solicit Karen Vecchio's support and send a joint letter on behalf of the municipality stating the support that the municipality has given, the fact that this is a volunteer group that has been very successful in running this, that we have been trying to get some notice from the upper levels of government to proceed with this, as it is shovel ready, all set to go. But we have not gained any traction to this point in time. So if you're asking for solutions from the municipalities, we have one sitting right here that's been ignored.
Yeah, and it's much needed.
And much needed. I mean, we don't need to do the justification studies. We don't need to do any of that. It's right here. So what's everybody's thoughts on discussing this with Karen and seeing if she's willing to send a joint letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs for the people in Elgin County?
Through the chair, absolutely. I think that's the route to go.
What are your thoughts, Tress?
100%. They've been shovel ready with our plans and everything. And we've been waiting for something to happen. It's just sitting there and it's a huge, huge need. So I think that would be absolutely the way to go.
So probably I should contact Karen, give her a heads up and see if this is even something that she may be interested in doing. And with that, is the rest of council agreeable jointly between Karen and myself and Magda or Jana putting together a letter to send to Minister Clark? I mean,
Councillor Talia, what day was that meeting that you're meeting with the MP?
28th of February.
No. It is the, let me just bring up my calendar here.
Oh, the next
22nd.
This is a meeting you're having with Karen.
The 22nd and 1st.
Oh,
at 1, sorry. The 22nd at 1 o'clock.
This is just a meeting that Teresa's having with Karen to, I didn't know all the facts and figures and bumps and grumps and the whole thing there. So I just suggested to Karen that she reach out to Teresa and get that background information. What's that? So
I'm just joining that.
Yeah. And that's, I already talked this over with Karen. But I didn't have all the particulars, which Teresa has much more of those particular issues that I don't have. So I suggested to Karen that she reach out to Teresa to get more background information so Karen has a better understanding of it.
Councillor Talia, would you like to touch base and us provide you with the details of what we've done before you meet with the MP? You can touch base with staff and we can provide you the file if you wish.
Sure, that was great. And then I've also forwarded it to obviously my Heritage Homes to see what they would like to include in the meeting and what angle they'd like to look at. And yeah, that'd be great.
So in the meantime, I have a couple of issues that I do have to speak to Karen about. I'll broach this one here to see if there's any interest. That will set the stage that when you have her meeting with her, you can expand on it. And if council is comfortable with us putting a letter to Minister Clark, we will proceed with that. Okay. Anything else on council reports from committees? We will be getting back the Elgin County highlights in our agenda package. I hope. Well, nobody really knows what happens. I brought it up at County Council the other day, and Julie wasn't aware of it, and there are other municipalities saying, "Yeah, I really missed that," and my council misses it. So it's going to be reinstated and it'll be coming back to the clerk. Okay. Seeing no other reports from committees, next item is the accounts, and I have a recommendation that the mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 2 amounting to $428,580.53 in settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts. Over and seconder for that, or are there any questions that you have not had answered None, mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Cameron.
Good morning.
All right. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried. Correspondence.
We have none. I had to check both bagged and I had to check our email boxes twice too. I think it's just the beginning of the year. Everybody's little.
Did we not get the letter from somewhere about the Ontario Land Tribunal? We deal with that.
You mean the notice?
No, there was a letter that come out from a municipality concerned about.
That was in AMO. That was that not last council? We had that on our agenda?
Might have been.
Yeah, I believe it was last council.
And we just received the file.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Or was it AMO? Because I think Councillor Rowe had a question to me about it. Was it AMO that it brought it up?
About the functionality of the
Yeah.
Ontario Land Tribunal. All righty. No correspondence. That's almost a first.
I know, I was very shocked.
Okay, council inquires, I guess, notice of motion. Anybody have a notice of motion for upcoming meeting? Seeing none. Statements and inquiries by councilors. Seeing none, any matters of urgency? Yes, Richard.
I know I'm going off course a little bit, but okay. I don't know whether we're aware, sitting around this table, or people at Elgin realise what sort of coyote problem we have. I tell you, I've been in nature all my life, and I've been in Canada 30 years, and slowly but surely the coyote problem is getting big. The last couple of 3 weeks, I take my dogs out to walk. I will not go out down my field without a big flashlight now. They almost surround you. And it's very, I'm not frightened of wild animals like that, but it's very airy, I can tell you. And I will not go down my own field without a big flashlight now, because I think they're looking at my dogs. I've never seen anything quite like it or heard anything. If anybody wants to come up at my place at 9 o'clock and listen, they will not believe their ears. And I think it's time that something was done about it. One, I don't know what. I have shot two just over this last week. But I mean, I'm not talking of 2 or 3 or 5 or 10. I'm talking of large numbers of coyotes. And it's their breeding season now. And what happens when all them pups come out this next year? I think we're going to get ourselves into real trouble unless there's a bounty or something brought onto these coyotes. I don't know what it could be, but I'd really like somebody to think of an idea how we could keep the numbers down.
So through the chair, I can speak that the coyote hunters in West Elgin, or at least in my area, are very busy, because they are on my road almost daily. But yes, the coyotes are very bad, but they are also pushing the deer out of the bush. And that I have never seen so many deer, and they're piled up by the hundreds, almost by the road, on Talbot and Pioneer, which is, and I think Lee can attest to this, we've probably picked up 10 deer in January, 15. Lee, can you, in my ward, how many times have I messaged you about deer?
Yeah, we're probably at a dozen now.
Yeah. Transport trucks, I don't even think stop anymore. They just keep driving. So I don't know. And yes, the coyotes are bad, being where my residence is. I'm in the process of trying to get a license now for something, because they're coming in our yard at night. So I don't know what to do, but I can say we do have an active group of coyote hunters in West Elgin, because I've got to know some of them by name now. So I don't know what else to tell you to do. There is no bounty, but they're busy. So
I know we got the coyote hunters about with their dogs and I understand that they do move everything in front of them because they're yapping and barking. But unfortunately, they don't come around my area because of the River Thames. And because very often a coyote goes across the ice and they don't want their dogs, if they go through, they've lost them. So they never, ever come hunting in areas like I've got. So I have a problem and I don't know how to get rid of it.
Well, I'm the same way, living in close proximity to the gravel pits. My poor old black lab, she is just beside herself because they all get singing. And Richard is absolutely right. I wouldn't know how many there are, but they're all just unbelievable. You think the truckers in downtown Toronto blowing their horns is big. This coyote is. So do you think, Richard, you think we should start the ball rolling here with a resolution that we could circulate, but the thing that we have to know is what we're asking for in a resolution to other municipalities. Is it that we need to extend the deer hunt to cut down on coyote food? We need to do something with that. Do we need to request a bounty on the coyotes to get more interest in chasing them? What do you see as the potential solution?
I was thinking of some sort of bounty. For the simple reason, I think if you extend the deer and lessen the deer population and the coyote is still there, they're going to come in closer for food. So we might even make the problem worse than what it is. They're going to come in to grab your chickens or whatever you've got around the farmyard, your cats or your dogs. And they will go for dogs, believe me, because my dog did chase a coyote and I watched it go back to the bush. There was a bit of a rumpus and the coyote run it right the way back to my house.
Smart dog.
Yeah, luckily she could run. But anyway, I think maybe some sort of bounty, maybe, to encourage all these hunters that come around this area and shoot and do whatever they do with the deer. But, and if a coyote walks by, they let it walk by.
I just did a quick search on the Ontario Anglers and Hunting, and it says in here, first and foremost, all hunting needs to be within rules and regulations, and bounties are illegal in Ontario.
Okay, well, so that's out.
The MNR have some suggestions as to, what steps have been taken in the past and what we could recommend or what are.
See, it's never going to be an issue until the coyotes start getting into the urban areas and little Fluffy and Kitty, and they start to go missing. And that I see every once in a while that it's a newsworthy item on the TV.
Yes, it is.
If Therese, you got your hand up.
Through the chair, I was asked last week that and told that the neighboring Indigenous communities were doing a hunt. I don't know if that's still a fact or if they've organized it all or not, and that they were going to come to the municipality and see what the lines are of how far they could go in the municipality. That's what one of my constituents came to me.
Well, I think
I said I will watch for the email, but I haven't heard anything.
I think the big operative clause in that is that it doesn't matter who or what you're hunting, and the fact that you need permission from the landowner, and that's sometimes not hard to get, but sometimes it is.
Yes, it is.
So I think we need to do a little bit of investigation here before we take a position. But certainly I totally agree with you, Richard, that they're just getting more and more and more. So,
getting out of hand.
And I don't know, this is another thing that's happening, and Mother Nature must be healing itself because I have never seen so many eagles.
No.
They're everywhere now. And for years and years and years, you've never seen an eagle.
Last spring, I saw 7 eagles all in one go at my place, and every day probably I see 5.
You've got quite a little nature reserve down there.
Well, it's the Thames, you see, they follow the Thames River.
Well, let's leave it with that, Richard. I totally agree with the fact that we need to investigate this. And Janet, is that something that you can, I mean, you're already doing it. So if you would look into that, maybe when you're having conversations with other municipalities, see if they have the same issue. And is it something that the OFA has discussed?
I will discuss it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm surprised we haven't had more livestock claims then, but we haven't.
Not much livestock in West Elgin anymore. No.
True.
No.
Well, but we have had 3 cattle in the last 3 years that were done by coyotes. But other than that, the other ones were weasels.
Well, see, if we had an abundance of sheep in West Elgin, there'd be a contingent of people in here beating on our door, but sure, that's not the situation.
I will bring it up with Laura and Tracy at the OFA
Yeah.
and see if there's been other complainants and see what we can put together.
So does that satisfy you, Richard, that we will start doing some research and see what people
please.
are doing, what can be doing involving the OFA
and I know as matter as the licenses, all you need is a small game.
We don't even do that, do we?
Well, you need a small game just to hunt in Ontario.
Yeah, in Ontario, we don't have any additional licenses.
No, we don't have any additional
No,
ones.
there's no additional license. It's just a small game. That's all.
And you just can't hunt in the village areas.
Right. Okay, so we'll be looking for a report back from Buddy at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Matters of urgency. I don't see any. We are now at our bylaw component of our meeting, and we'll turn it over to our clerk to lead us through that.
So bylaw 2022-04, the interim tax levy bylaw. This is an annual bylaw we need to pass. That bylaw 2022-04 being a bylaw to provide for the interim tax levy for 2022 be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Over and seconder, please. Moved by Tellier, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? That is carried.
So this is the bylaw 2022-05 Municipal Modernization Program Intake 3 agreement. I'm not sure if you all read it, but in that agreement, this is to provide monies for budgeting software and digitizing of all of our records. So we're very happy that we managed to get a fair amount of money for that. So that bylaw 2022-05 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a transfer payment agreement between Her Majesty the Queen Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing and the Corporation of the Municipality of West Elgin be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover with Latham and Rowe. All in favor? Carried.
So this is the rezoning bylaw. So for 177 Victoria Street in Rodney, bylaw 2022-06 being a bylaw to amend the Municipality of West Elgin Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2015-36 for the property known as 177 Victoria Street be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder. Rowe and Tellier. All in favor? Carried.
So confirming bylaw, that bylaw 2022-07 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on February 10th, 2022 be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder. Cameron and Latham. All in favor? Carried.
So we're at the adjournment that the Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourn at 10:49 a.m. to meet again at 9:30 a.m. on February 24th, 2022, or at the call of the chair. Just before we get too far with that, Magda and I would like to ask if you guys are okay with after that regular council meeting, we have a committee of the whole to finalize the budget stuff. Is that okay on that day?
Would you like to put that to bed?
Yes, I would love to put that to bed. Do you want to start council? It's going to be closed session.
Yeah, so there will be closed at 9. But other than that,
Everybody good with
that? Okay.
all right. Mover and seconder for adjournment. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier. All in favor? That is carried. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Good meeting. safe and we'll see you soon.
Have a great day. Be safe, everyone.
Bye.